Good morning, friends, and welcome back to the Rata Initiative. I am Chetan Kedari from Pune Rata Committee. Rata, or Refrigeration and Air Conditioning Trades Association Limited, is one of the oldest association working for the development of air conditioning and refrigeration industry in India. Established in the year 1949, the association brings together people from the entire industry and gives them a central forum to help them accomplish their common goal of making progress and achieving success. Rata has a vision to make sure the HVAC and our trade presence is felt on national and international level, to recognize HVAC and our trade in the government bodies, to upgrade all MSMEs of the HVAC and our trade through various webinars that we have conducted and are continuously doing so. Continuing with the process and along with Mr. Dilip Jha and the complete Rata team, I'm very happy to welcome our guest speaker today, Mr. Mahesh Bhagwat. Mr. Mahesh Bhagwat is a BCom LLB and has a vast knowledge in the field. He has authored and co-authored books like व्यवसाय कराचा कायदा, पुढचं पाऊल ओळख, LBT मार्गदर्शिका, GST introduction. Sir has delivered lectures on VAT on All India Radio and has many more such achievements to his name. We are very confident that the business community is going to benefit a lot from his vast knowledge and experience in the field. I would like to hand over the platform to Bhagwat sir from me. Welcome, sir.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chetan, for the nice introduction. At the outset, I would like to express my words of gratitude towards the organizers of the Refrigeration and Air Conditioning Trades Association of India. This Goods and Service Tax Law has been introduced in the year 2017. We all are aware of this. And now the E-Invoicing, the system of E-Invoicing has been introduced. I would like to tell you something like when it was the law was introduced in the year 2017. It was said by all the experts and people who are involved in this GST formation that this law is totally based on three pillars. One is the input tax credit to all people. Second is the destination-based tax system. And third pillar was the GSTN, that means the Goods and Service Tax Network. And the e-invoicing is invoiced out of the various activities of the Goods and Service Tax Network. See, this Goods and Service Tax, when we are going to study any new law or any new amendment in the law, we have to understand two aspects, two sides of this law. One is there is a legal aspect, and another is there is a procedural aspect. And under GST, in addition to this procedural and legal aspect, there is a technical aspect. But I'm going to speak on the legal and procedural aspects only because I'm not an expert in the technical things. But I'm sure I can explain everything that there will be no technical problems to all the listeners in this session. So may I request to just start my PPT, please? Yes. First slide. See, e-invoicing. I would like to tell you the meaning of the e-invoicing. Electronic invoice or e-invoice means the invoice generated by the taxpayer on his own computerized system and uploaded on portal provided by government and obtaining a reference number, QR code, etc. for seamless compliance of outward supply under the Goods and Service Tax Law. It doesn't mean the generation of invoice by the government portal. See, when you are going to generate the e-invoice, that e-invoice you have to generate from your own portal, from your own system, from your own computer, from your own computerized system. It may be a billing system, it may be an accounting system, it may be any other system which you are adopting in your day-to-day life. Second, next please. The e-invoicing is very advantageous for the all taxpayers as well as for the buyers. For the sellers and buyers, this system is advantageous. See, the technique when this GST law has been implemented in 2017, the government was not ready with the technical base. Now they have developed so many things, and you know, from the 1st July 2017 to today, we are now in the arena of this e-invoice. There were e-way bill also. E-way bill, I think all of you are now aware and well conversant with this e-way bill system. Now the e-invoicing will be there, and that e-invoicing will be very, very essential for the not only for the large taxpayers, but it is for it is also useful for the small taxpayers also. So what will be the advantages of this e-invoicing system? First is the standardization. There will be the standardization of the billing system. So why this standardization is required? Because there are different types and different varieties of the dealers uh, we are interacting with each other. See, the system of billing system of each person is different, and it creates some problems at the time of accounting and at the time of verification of bills at the time of assessment also. So if there is a standardization, due to this standardization, every dealer will be under the same platform as far as the invoicing is concerned. Then next advantage is interoperability. Operability. What is interoperability? See, now you are going to generate the invoice on this portal. After that, there will be a e-way bill. See, at present, the e-invoice and e-way portal, there are two different portals, and we have to go on the two different portals also. But in nearest future, there will be, after generation of e-invoicing, you will automatically go to the EWP. That means the e-way bill portal. So that interoperability will be very useful for all the traders, all the manufacturers, all the sellers who are supplying the goods. Next is the auto population to the return. It will not be necessary for you to now fill up the GSTR 1. It is not necessary to give the outward supply details of outward supply independently in the return. So auto population of the return will be there. Next is the reduction in the processing cost. Of course, the processing cost will be reduced due to the standardization of bills. One thing. Next is the processing will be universal process for all the taxpayers, all the traders with whom you are interacting or with whom you are transacting. In that case, reduction in the processing cost is there. Reduction in disputes. See, if there will be the standard all of parameters in the EU invoicing, there will be very less scope for the disputes between the amongst the dealers. Next is the improvement in payment cycle. Why improvement in payment cycle? See, all of you are aware that when you issue the e-invoice, when you issue the normal invoice, the invoice goes to your buyer. The buyer gets that invoice into his accounting process. There is a GRN number. After going to taking the posting the GRN, that bill goes to the purchase department. The purchase department approves the bill, and there are so many procedural aspects as far as the approval of that bill is concerned. See, it takes so many time to get the bill approved. Due to this e-invoicing, as there are standardized parameters in the invoice, there will be a less time lag from the issue of invoice to the approval of invoice, because the invoice will immediately go to your buyer, and the buyer has to take into consideration for their further processing. So there will be improvement in the payment cycle. Naturally, it saves the time. The time saving is very important aspect as far as the invoice is concerned, because once we issue the invoice registered or booked in the books of accounts of the buyer will take so many days. Sometimes it takes some months for the registration in the accounting system. The time will be saved because it will automatically go, not automatically, but it will immediately go to the buyer. Then the fast communication will be there, and auto accounting is also there as far as the seller is concerned. So these are the advantages, and because of these advantages, we will save, the taxpayer and buyer will save the time. There will be saving in time, there will be saving in processing, and all these things. The seamless and speedy procedural work will be there as far as these advantages are concerned. Next, please. Next. So, which documents will be covered under e-invoicing? So, invoicing, e-invoice, if you go for the e-invoicing, which types of documents you can generate on the e-invoice portal? One is the tax invoice. It is also mentioned in the portal that it is a GST invoice. That means a tax invoice. You can generate the tax invoice on this e-invoicing system. You can generate the debit notes under this e-invoicing system, and you can generate the credit notes also under this e-invoicing system. See, these three types of invoices: tax invoice, debit notes, and credit notes. These three types of invoices always makes the impact on your transactional value of the sale. So uh, in uh, in the first phase, only these three types of invoices can be issued by way of e-invoicing. You cannot issue the delivery challenge or delivery notes from this e-invoicing portal. You cannot, no, not a composition dealers cannot issue the bill of supply along with delivery challenge under this system. Even the payment vouchers and all these other vouchers which are related with the accounting of sales will not be issued under this e-invoicing portal. Why? Because the e-invoicing portal will give you the schema invoice. This is the standardized invoice that we are going to discuss afterward. And under that schema invoice system, only these three documents are allowed. So keep in your mind that tax invoices, credit notes, and debit notes only can be covered, will be covered under this e-invoicing at present. Next. Now we will go to the next slide, and we will see how this e-invoicing will be applicable, to whom it will be applicable, what is the applicability of e-invoicing system under the GST law. See, if the aggregate turnover, which is based on the PAN, after 2017-18 and onwards is more than rupees 500 crores, only those types of taxpayers, those types of dealers are eligible for registering under the e-invoicing system. What is the based on PAN? I will give you the example. First example, see, if a company has head office in Delhi, another branch is in Uttar Pradesh, one more branch is in the Maharashtra, one more branch is in the Gujarat. See, there are four branches, and the turnover of each branch is around 100 crore, 200 crore, 300 crore, or it may be less than 500 crore. But if the total aggregate turnover of all four branches is more than 500 crore, then that particular dealer, that particular taxpayer is eligible to go for the e-invoicing system. See, now I will tell you the another example. If out of these four branches, one branch is under SEZ, one branch is under SEZ. We are going to discuss it later. The SEZ is not applicable. For the SEZ, the e-invoicing is not applicable. So in that case, if total turnover is above 500 crore, then other than this UP branch, other than this SEZ branch, all other branches will be applicable for the issue of e-invoices. In respect of supply of services, supply of goods and services, or both, to the registered person, applicable applicability is concerned for the supply of goods and or services or both to the registered persons only. That means this e-invoicing system is applicable in case of only B2B business, business to business. That means the from a registered person to the registered person. And the B2B supplies are for the and for the exports also. See, it is not applicable for the B2C. So if the business between between business to business is there, or if there is a export, then this e-invoicing system is applicable. In this case only, the businessman has to issue the e-invoices. Presently, only notified class of persons will be allowed or enabled to report invoices to IRP. IRP means Invoice Registration Portal. Okay. See, uh, you cannot go voluntarily for the e-registration, e-invoice registration, because at present, according to the notification issued under the Central Tax Law (GST), it is mentioned only the people who are only the taxpayer who are having the turnover more than rupees 500 crores will be eligible and will be eligible for this e-invoicing registration. Second thing, you have to issue the bills to the register businessmen only, and for the export, in case of export only, you have to issue the e-invoice, and there is no any provision for the voluntary registration for under the e-invoice. You if that means even though your turnover is below rupees 500 crore, and if you want to go for this e-invoicing system, uh, because your customers or your suppliers are under this e-invoicing purview, but you are not allowed to go for this e-invoicing if your turnover is above rupees 500. If your turnover is below rupees 500 crore. Next, please. Even though there is a turnover of rupees 500 crore and more, some business entities are exempted from this from this registration for the e-invoicing system. The first thing is ACZ units. The ACZ units are exempted as far as the e-invoicing is concerned, but ACZ developers are not exempted. So if there is a ACZ unit and ACZ unit is having the turnover above rupees 5,500 crore, that ACZ unit is not eligible for e-invoicing. Next, the insurance companies, banking companies, and non-banking financial corporations are also exempted from this e-invoicing purview. Next is multiplex cinema theaters and admissions. They are also exempted. Goods and transport agencies. See, goods and transport agencies for the road transport only are exempted. So if the good there is a goods and transport agency and the turnover is more than rupees 500 more than rupees 500 crore, but it is not doing the it is not involved in the road transport business, then they have to uh, get the registration under the e-invoicing system. And one more is passengers transport services. Passenger transport services, even though they are having the turnover above rupees 500 crore, they are not allowed for the they are not eligible for the e-invoicing. Next, please. Next slide, please. Yes. Now I will go to some clarifications as far as the exempted persons are concerned. See, we have just seen that SEZ developers need to issue invoices. So there is a question why SEZ developers are eligible and why SEZ units are not eligible. So there is a basic reason for that particular exemption given to the SEZ units is that they have to uh, they have to go for the seamless flow of their business, and they should not be involved in this formalities of e-invoicing. That is the only reason. That is the reason why SEZ developers need to issue invoices. That means the SEZ developers will be eligible for e-invoicing, so they are not exempted. As far as the free trade and warehousing zone, there is a free trade and warehousing zone category of the businesses which are only which are only special category of special economic zones. It is a different category of special economic zoning with the focus on trading and warehousing. Hence, they are exempted. So they are as good as they are the ACZ units. That's why the free trade and warehousing zone is also exempted from this e-invoicing system. Next is the e-invoicing is applicable for suppliers by notified person to SEZs. See, there is one query regarding if I am the SEZ, I am not a SEZ unit and I am supplying the goods to the SEZ units. In that case, whether I can issue the e-invoice to the SEZ units. Yes, if the person is eligible for invoicing, if you are a notified person, if your turnover is rupees 500 crore and more, and you are supplying the goods or services to the SEZ, then you have to issue the invoices to SEZ. That means any notified person can issue the e-invoice to SEZs. E-invoicing is not applicable to invoices by input service distributor. See, input service distributor, invoicing is not applicable. Why? Because there is no involvement of the transactions of sale and purchase. It is only the distribution of input tax credit to the branches, and that is the only reason why it is not necessary to issue the e-invoices to input service distributor. Uh, Next is who are exempted. One more part is exempted, B2C, that we have seen earlier. If there is a business from businessman to customers, businessman to consumer, in that case the invoices by notified person is not applicable or allowed, and this is the current situation. In future it will be applicable for the B2C also. But another thing I want to just discuss before you, if the register B2C means if the businessman is registered, a notified person is registered, and his consumer is unregistered. In that case, only e-invoicing is not applicable. But if the businessman, a notified person, is the sells the goods to the consumer who is a registered person, then in that case it will be treated as B2B business, and in that case, even though a notified person sells the goods to the consumer who is having the registration under the GST law, there is the applicability of e-invoicing. And if the consumer is registered, consumer will be termed as a register. Uh, Consumer will be registered, and if he purchase the goods from the notified person, he has to insist for the e-invoicing. Next, now we will go to the how the actual process will be there, how the e-invoicing will be, uh, how e-invoicing will play its role in this process, in the process of this GST law. First, uh, I will read this process and I will explain it afterward. See, first process is GST invoice creation is on our own accounting. So it is not there. It does not mean that you have to go on the portal and you have to create your e-invoice on the portal of the government. It is not so. You have to create on your own accounting or ERP or billing systems. Second stage, the reporting to invoice registration portal. After creating that bill, you have to report that invoice on the IRP, that means the invoice registration portal. Third stage is IRP returns the signed invoice from the invoice registration portal. You will get that invoice return with signature with unique IRN, that means invoice reference number, and along with QR code, quick response code. Why? Because there will be unique invoice reference number for each and every e-invoice, and that there will be no duplication of that number, and you have to get that IRN from the portal. That is the IRP. Next is new. Now the invoice with QR code can be issued to receiver, means your buyer. When you receive that invoice reference number on your e-invoice with QR code, that invoice will come to your portal. That means your computerized system, and you will convert that. That will be the JSON file. You have to convert that JSON file into PDF, and you can send your PDF file to your receiver. And a GST invoice will be valid only with the valid IRN. If there is a valid invoice reference number, then only if that invoice will be treated as valid invoice. See, the registration on IRP, as far as the registration on IRP is concerned, if you are already registered under the EWB, that means the e-way bill portal, then it is not necessary to get registration on IRP. You will be automatically get recognized in this on this IRP if you are already registered under the e-way portal. Next, the schema invoice system is there for the invoicing. Schema means a standardized invoice, and that schema invoice you have to generate on your portal, on your accounting system, in your Excel, and that particular schema invoice you have to upload on the IRP. And this, how you will get that schema invoice? There are three systems. One is by offline tool. If you will go to IR portal, invoice registration portal, you will get the offline tool, and on that offline tool you have to you have to prepare your bill on your own accounting system, and then you have to upload that particular e bill, sorry, e-invoice on this IRP. Next, there is another mode using the API mode directly. That means, you know what is the API? API means application programming interface. You can on the basis of that API, you can upload these e-invoices directly on the portal. And another is through the GST. That means the GST means GST Suvidha provider. With the help of the GST Suvidha provider, also you can upload your e-invoices on the invoice registration portal. So after the process, we have to again go for the advantages of this particular thing. Next slide, please. What are the advantages? You have seen the process. So what are the advantages of those processes? There will be the accuracy in the reconciliation of bills. See, accuracy is very more important. Why? Because that particular schema invoice, there are so many mandatory and optional fields, and on the basis of these mandatory and optional fields, you have to fill up your invoice and you have to upload it. So there will be no chance of mistake, any technical and clerical mistake on this schema invoice. Next, there will be a cost reduction. Why? Because you are getting it on the portal, on your portal only. So there is not. It is not necessary to print the bill. It is not necessary to send the physical copies of bill to your buyer or customers. It will definitely reduce your cost. There will be paper elimination. Paper elimination is also a very important thing as far as this today's era is concerned. Next, there is the internal control. Internal control is totally related with the accuracy and cost reduction. See, why? Because if there is an internal control of outward supply in your hand, on your portal, on your saved invoices, that will create the more accuracy in your accounting system, and also your cash flow, and also your budgeting. Next is the early payments. We have discussed it. Why early payments? Because there will be no time for issuing the bills from the seller to customers. Within no time, your customer will get your bill, and the other processes of the previous processes, old processes like GRN and accrual of bill, that will be eliminated, and that is that will be resulted into the early payments, and naturally it will create the better relationship between the customer and the suppliers, customer and the supplier. So there will be the saving of time, cost, and manpower. You will save the time, you will save the cost, and you will save the manpower, and you will save the energy also as far as this booking and accounting of outward supply is concerned. Next, so what are the features? These are, we have seen the advantages. Now, what are the features of this e-invoicing system? It's a user-friendly system. It is very easy. Anybody can issue the e-invoice, and therefore it is easy as well as there is a accuracy. So easy process and accurate process will definitely make the taxpayer very happy as far as this e-invoicing is concerned. Next, easy and quick generation method. Generation of e-invoice is very easy and quick. When once you start the e-invoicing system, you will understand how it is easy, because they have given the parameters, which are, some of them are the compulsory, some of them are the optional. You have to just fill up all the details of your invoice on that offline tool, and you will generate the invoice automatically. Next, there are multiple modes for e-invoice generation. So I have already told you how you can generate the e-invoice. First is the offline tool, that is the bulk generation tool. If you will go on the e portal, sorry, e invoice portal, you will find there the help menu, and in the help menu there will be tools, and in the tools there is a bulk generation tool. From the bulk generation tool, you have to download on your computer system, and from that bulk generation tool, you can generate your e invoices immediately. Another thing is by the API. The if the large turnover units are using the API, and they are, with the help of the API, they generate the bills and they directly upload it onto the portal. That is the IRP. API is the application programming interface. I already told you. Next is third system is the through GST. The GST Suvidha provider. If the number of your invoices are bulk in nature, you can go for the GST Suvidha provider also, and he will also help you. That company will also help you for the generation of the e-invoices. Next is the creating your own masters. You have to you can create your own master files in your system. It is not necessary to rely on the government portal. So creating your own masters is very important feature of this particular e-invoice system. Managing sub-users. So what is the sub-user? I will tell you. See, a company XYZ is having his head office in Pune. They have their branch offices in Nagpur, Kolhapur, Sangli, Satara, and elsewhere. And they are also selling the goods from those branches again and again. In that case, if the company is registered on IRP uh, on the e-portal in Pune, and they will get the user code, and that on from that user code you can create the sub user code for your other branches or your other selling points. So if a person or if a company is a user, and the company is having the four branches from where they are selling the goods, so they can they can create the sub users, and they can give the sub user code to their authorized signatories in their branches. So what is the maximum limit of sub user? So each for each GSTIN, that means GST identification number, for this, for one state there is one GSTIN. So for each GSTIN you can create the 10 sub users. So if you are having the 4 GSTIN, one is in Maharashtra, one is in Madhya Pradesh, one is in Delhi, one is in UP. So in that case, you can create 40 sub-users, you can manage 40 sub-users. And there is a system, you can freeze the sub-users whenever you want to change the sub-user system, because if your employee who is an authorized person and if he is the sub-user of particular branch, and if he left the job, in that case you can freeze that sub-user code and you can generate another sub-user code from the system. Next is monitoring the IRN generated. The IRN means the invoice reference number. The monitoring of invoice reference number is very easy, because there will be a unique IRN, and uh, you can verify those IRN from your QR code. The QR code will be generated by the IRP, and the IRP will give the QR code and IRN to you with your signed invoice. Next is generating the GSTR1 from e-invoices. Once the e-invoice is generated, and if the e-invoice is after generating the e-invoice, uh, you will get the QR code and IRN from the IR portal, and after 24 hours, that GSTR1, that e-invoice will be automatically accounted in the GSTR1. Why 24 hours? If you want to cancel your e-invoice, you can cancel it within 24 hours because uh, the system has given the 24 hours for the cancellation of e-invoice. You cannot cancel the e-invoice partially, you have to cancel the e-invoice in toto. Full e-invoice you have to cancel. Next, and it is also within 24 hours. If after 24 hours you will realize that this particular bill is wrongly created or wrongly generated, then in that case you cannot cancel it. You have to go through the credit note or debit note and all these things. Next, the QR barcode on the e-invoice. This is a feature. Due to this QR code, you can verify whether that particular e-invoice has been registered, has been is there any the IRN number granted by the IR portal, that you can verify due to this QR barcode. And these are the features of this e-invoicing system. Now we will go for the workflow of e-invoicing, how that e-invoicing will actually work. Once we have seen that uh, we are creating a e-invoice schema invoice on our own utility, on your own computerized system. You will get the utility downloaded from the IR portal, and you will upload that. You will fill up the invoice details, and you will upload the e-invoice on the IR portal. When that e-invoice is uploaded, as far as seller is concerned, the seller will receive the digitally signed JSON file of e-invoice that contains the QR code. So this is the only very limited system for the dealer. He has to just generate particular e-invoice. He has to upload that file on the IR portal. Immediately he will get back the signed JSON of e-invoice and QR code. Then what you have to do, you have to just convert that JSON file into PDF. That is also possible on your own computer, and that PDF e-invoice you can send to your buyer by email, either by email or by hand delivery. What will happen to the IRP, that means the invoice generation portal? The after the uploading e-invoice by the taxpayer, it will come to the IR portal. IRP will sign the e-invoice. IRP will add the QR code to the JSON, and that IRP will send back the signed JSON to the buyer and sends the invoice to the GST system. So IRP will send this JSON file, one to the generator and another to the GST system. The GST system, what will happen to the GST system? The GST system will update the outward and inward supplies of the buyer and seller. So if you have generated your e-invoice, your GSTR1 will be updated, and the GSTR 2A of your buyer will be automatically updated. That work will be done by the GST system. Now, the invoice has the unique invoice. Uh, Now has the unique invoice with the unique number. See that IRN is the unique. That IRN will be there will be no the same IRN to anybody in the India. See that IRN is total belongs to total 64 characters, different characters. So you cannot read that particular IRN. That IRN will be under the compact system of the QR code. So if you have a QR code, that means you have that unique IRN. So you can read the IRN through that QR code only, quick response code only. And what will happen to the buyer? The buyer can view that input tax credit system related to the invoice on his GSTR2A. I have just explained you that GST system will automatically generate the GSTR1 for the seller, and at the same time the GSTR2A for the buyer. So the workflow of e-invoicing and on this portal and the GST system and seller and buyer is concerned will be there. Next, please. So how that e-invoice will flow from the supplier to portal, IR portal, invoice registration portal. Seller must have a JSON preparation utility. I just told you can download that particular utility from this IR portal, and on your computer system you will generate that e-invoice. Next, seller prepares e-invoice as per schema having mandatory and optional fields. The same thing. Next, uploads. You have to upload that JSON of e-invoice to IRP. Once you create that e-invoice, that will be created in the JSON format, and that JSON format will be uploaded to the invoice registration portal, and that JSON pushed to the IRP to have facility to accept JSON through API or accept JSON direct uploaded. See, JSON means that this is another format. We have the Excel format, PDF format. Accordingly, there is a JSON format. The JSON format we cannot read from your normal eyes. So in that JSON format, to keep this secrecy of the ingredients of that particular bill, it is converted into the JSON. It is created into the JSON format, and the JSON format will be uploaded either by the utility or through the API or through the GST Suvidha provider from the seller to the IR portal. Next, please. Next, please. It will generate the IRN. IR portal will generate the IRN. That means invoice registration number, invoice reference number, does the duplication, check with GST system, signs JSON with the digital signature of IRP, and adds QR code to the JSON. Or the system automatically makes the checking whether this particular invoice is duplicate invoice, whether it is uploaded second time by mistake or through oversight. That it will be checked on the system only, and the digital signature will be put on that e-invoice, and QR code will be applied on the JSON file, and that JSON file will digitally a signed JSON file will return to the seller with QR code. Next is this that particular file sent authenticated payload to the GST system and sends to EAV system. So see, this facility is not started as it because you have to generate your EWP independently at present, but soon it will be happened authenticated JSON file will go to the e-way bill system on that portal. Next, please. Next slide, please. And then next stage is that the seller receives the digitally signed JSON of e-invoice that contains the QR code, and seller's GSTR1 get updated with the liability entered in the invoice, and the buyer's GSTR2 will also get updated. Because this is the flow right from generation of e-invoice on your portal to the GSTR1 and GSTR2. This is the seamless flow of your e-invoice from start to end. So we will just discuss what is the e-invoice schema. Schema simply means the structured template or format of e-invoice that has been designed by the GST network. The schema is standard format for electronic invoice, and it is notified as Form GST INV1. And you can see that GST INV1 from the notification number 60 of the 2020 Central Tax dated 30th July 2020. So this is the schema invoice. The schema invoice is a standardized structured template of the invoice, and on that template you have to fill the details of your invoice and you can generate your e-invoice. Next, please. So how this, next slide, please. How this e-invoicing system will flow? There are so many questions in the mind of everyone, and it is it is started in the on the 1st of October 2020 for the dealers who are having the turnover of rupees 500 crore or more from 2017-18. Now from 1st January 2021, for the dealers or the taxpayers who are having the turnover above rupees 100 crore will be for them the e-invoice system will be applicable, and uh, day by day it will come to the all dealers, but it will not applicable to all dealers in the very nearest future. Why? Because this system is very as far as the number of people in the organization are concerned, the system is little complicated. So the small dealers or very small dealers cannot afford this system immediately. So it is kept open for the dealers who are having a turnover above rupees 100 crores from 1st January 2020. So before those who are having the turnover above rupees 100 crore for the previous years have to get themselves registered on this IRP. And on that IR portal, you can see there are two FAQs are published by the GSTIN. On the GST website, FAQ were updated on 14th of September 2020 and 5th of October 2020. There are 84 questions answered in the list of FAQ on 14th of September 2020, and 73 questions are answered in the list of FAQ on 5th of October 2020. See, in these FAQs, lot of technical queries have been solved very easily by the government. And if you want to go for the registration registration on the IR portal, you have to go through this FAQ first. And I advise, this is my suggestion to all the dealers who are going to register for the e-invoicing from the 1st of January 2020. Before going to registration, you just go through the FAQ first, and you will understand every technical problem, how to solve every technical problem as far as the generation of e-invoice is concerned. Next, please. I have taken some important FAQs out of these FAQs published by the government. The first FAQ is what businesses need to do to be e-invoice ready. Now, the dealers having turnover of rupees 100 crores or more they have to become now invoice ready. Businesses will continue to issue invoices as they are doing now. So don't worry, you don't have to change anything. You have to just fill your details of invoice in another type of utility. Necessary changes on account of e-invoice requirement, that is to enable reporting of invoices to IRP to obtain IRN, will be made by ERP accounting and billing software. Those who are having the ERP system, the ERP will generate that schema bill on your portal, and you can generate the you can generate the e-invoices. In that case, it is not necessary to download that utility, and the billing software provider in their respective software, and they need to get updated version having facility. See, if you are having the updated version which facilitate you for the generation of schema e-invoice on your portal, you can you can generate the e-invoices and upload directly from through API system or through GST Suvidha provider. Those who are not having the ERP system, they can go for the downloading of utility. Next question is, as an invoice credit or debit note required to be reported to IRSP by notified person, valid with without IRN. So answer is no. As per Rule 44.4, notified person has to prepare invoice by uploading specified particulars in Form GST INV 1 on invoice registration portal and obtaining invoice reference number. As per Rule 48.5, any invoice issued by the notified person in any manner other than the manner specified in 48.4, that means e-invoice, shall not be treated as an invoice. So it will be valid only with an IRN. So if you will generate any invoice other than this e-invoice system, and if you are a notified person, then that invoice will not be recognized as your invoice, because that invoice will not have the IRN or QR code. So notified person means those who are having turnover more than 100 crore, they have to generate the bill, generate the invoice from e-invoicing portal only. Whether any tool is provided to report invoices to IRPS for the entities not having their own ERP software solutions, they can use the free online utility, which is bulk generation tool, downloadable from the e-invoice portal. Though this invoice data can be easily reported and reported to IRP to obtain the IRN signed invoice. So this is all with the next take question. What are the various modes of generation of invoice? We have already discussed it. The API-based integration with the taxpayer system directly, API-based integration with the taxpayer system through JSP or ASP, and free online utility, which is bulk generation tool downloaded from IRP. These are the web-based or mobile app-based modes. Will also be these are the web-based modes, and mobile app based modes will also be provided in future. Today in the morning only, I have just make the inquiry to the uh, help desk whether they have started the app, mobile app, as of today. The answer was no, but they told me within 2 to 3 weeks the mobile app based modes will be also available. So thank you very much for the patient hearing from all the participants and viewers. I again thank to the my words of gratitude to the all organizers of the RATA for giving me an opportunity to share my views on this subject. Thank you very much.
Extremely thankful to you, sir. Extremely thankful to you. It was a very fluent and very informative presentation, sir. I'm sure most of the questions are answered here. And if anything remain, as you said, that there are FAQs which will answer
Yes.
most of the questions. And still, if there are questions, we have some questions over here, sir. We would like to take one or two questions. And like Mr. Dilip Jha wants to say, how can one verify the authenticity of an e-invoice? and
Yes.
we have two or more questions pending in the lines. But before that, I would again, from the Rata team, I would again like to thank you very much for a very informative session, sir. Now, I have a question from Mr. Pramod. Pramod says that starting with e-invoicing, what do you feel the government wishes to achieve? So, what is the bigger picture?
From which date? See, please repeat your question. I have read
Uh,
some
he,
another question on the.
he wants to say that starting with e-invoicing,
Mhm.
what do you feel the government wishes to achieve? What is the bigger picture of the government?
What is the?
Bigger picture. What is the bigger picture? What is it that it wishes to achieve? Starting with e-invoicing, I think so. The government wishes to go
Yes, yes.
electronic.
Understood, understood. See, government wanted to make the your return auto-populated. Why?
Okay,
Because they auto-populated return will be there automatically. See,
okay,
once e-invoicing will be there, there will be the accuracy in the invoicing. Automatic generation of GSTR1 and GSTR2A is the first stage for the automatic generation of auto-populated return.
right.
So they want to make the system very totally automatic, and since there is no chance for the manipulation of bills, that is the reason they have decided to start this e-invoicing system.
So this is a good initiative from the government side.
Yeah, good, good
One more question,
initiative.
sir. And now, as you said, that it has started with a 500 crore group of dealers, and then it is going to be 100 crore group. What do we feel? What would be the further stages? Like,
Your voice is cracking. Voice is cracking. Please, please
as you
repeat,
said
please.
earlier, is it clear now? Is it audible? Hello?
Hello.
Yeah, is it audible now?
Yes, yes, please.
Okay. As you said, that e-invoicing was applicable to 500 crore group of dealers. Now it would be applicable to 100 crore group of dealers. What would be
Right.
the further stages, and how soon can we expect for the lower turnover categories?
So I think it will not be done very in the immediate future. I think
Okay,
for settling this system for the dealers having turnover more than rupees 100 crores, it will take 2 to 3 months more. So I
okay,
think in the next year, in between October to December, they will again go for the another group of people. They will bring another group of people in this group. Before
okay,
that, the turnover limit, they will go for the B2C issue of invoice first, and they will go for the mobile app first, and then they will go for the small dealers for the e-invoicing, because small dealers cannot afford that API and API system and GST Suvidha provider system immediately.
okay,
That is the
okay.
reason.
I have a question from Mr. Sunil, and he wishes to ask that can an invoice be cancelled partially or fully? I suppose you have answered that question, but again, if you can take it, sir.
Yes, sir. See, if you will cancel the invoice partially, it is not allowed to cancel on the IR portal, and it is again before 24 hours. That means if you have generated the e-invoice at 8 p.m. today, you have to cancel it totally within 24 hours. That means tomorrow 8 p.m. That
Okay,
is the only thing at present available. So you cannot cancel the partial invoice. You have to cancel the invoice in total. For as far as a partial cancellation is concerned, there will be the provision of debit credit notes. So we can go with that notes only.
okay. There's one more question. He says that is e-invoice applicable to B2C transaction? Again, I think so. You have answered that, but if you can take it again, sir.
No, no. At present, it is not applicable. In
Okay,
future, they will make it, but at present is not applicable.
okay, okay. One more question says, does an e-invoice need to be signed again by the supplier and then provided to the customer, the second
No, no,
business?
no, not
No,
necessary. It will
not
be
necessary.
signed by the IR portal only. So that is
Okay,
the final signature. Your
okay,
DSC is not required on the
okay,
e-invoice.
okay. Any other infrastructure like a token, e-token, or anything is required, or just a registration number should be sufficient and a good internet speed?
The registration number is sufficient because you have to register. You have to register on the IR portal, just like you have already registered on the e-way bill portal. No? So you have
Okay.
to get the registration on IR portal. That is sufficient.
Okay, but in that case, if we wish to upload it through the API, does the API require a e-token or something of that sort? So is there any
No,
infrastructure cost? Okay,
no. There is an infrastructure cost as far as the API is concerned because the
okay,
API is an independent company. They will
okay,
definitely charge you for these changes. But
okay,
if you go for the downloading that bulk generation invoice from the e-portal only, then that utility will be sufficient for you.
okay,
But if you are having that bills more than 10,000 and 20,000 per day or in a month, in that case you have no option to go, no other option to go to the API or GST Suvidha provider.
yes. Thank you, sir. I suppose most of the questions are answered, and if anything remaining, most of the questions would be answered through the FAQs. And I'm sure sir would be available. So if anyone has any questions, they can raise the questions to the Rata platform. We can definitely put it forward to Bhagwat sir, and I am sure he would be more than happy to answer all the questions.
Sure, sure, sure. Definitely.
Thank you again very much, sir. Again, I would like to thank all the Rata team, the backend team for managing this show, and the Pune Rata team for organizing this event. I'm sure it will help a lot of traders like us, and it is going to benefit a lot of people henceforth. Your vast knowledge has helped us a lot, sir. Thank you very much, sir. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thanks.